A lot of technical founders don't feel great about selling. I'm bothering people. I'm sending them these emails. I'm asking for some favors. But if you deeply believe you are helping them solve their problem, you should completely change your mindset. You're not asking for favors. They're lucky you approach them because you have a real solution to their problems. So great to be here. And today we're going to talk about my favorite topic of all and something I wished existed in the world when I was the first time entrepreneur. And welcome again to the webinar, How to Get Your First 10 Paying Customers in 90 Days. It's possible. And today in just 25 minutes, we'll be able to cover all the basics, step by step, how you go about making it happen with this playbook. And it's tested by me, building and scaling my business, and now tested by all my mentees and all the amazing startup founders that I am blessed to support. For some of you, it might be not absolutely 10 first paying customers, but 10 first paying customers in the United States. Maybe you have a business outside of US and you're just coming to this market. And again, working with so many founders who are international immigrant founders, traction is key. So if you're looking to fundraise, if you're starting to talk to investors, this is where you start. You start from building a business and showing early traction in the market. And again, this is why this topic is so important. I wanted to start by introducing myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Vlada Lotkina. I'm a founder, entrepreneur. I scaled my company in education software to 5 million users and exited it last year. Now I am leading Elevator Lab, helping other founders scale their businesses with confidence and without borders. And one of the things that I wanted as a first-time entrepreneur is having the playbook. I wanted someone to show me the way. And we did join Accelerator and got some great connections and advice. But one of the things that was really disheartening and something that I was striving to see is a clear, practical playbook, step by step. How do I get my first traction? So this is what this is in a nutshell. You can follow it and get the results yourself. So with that, I'm going to jump into 3 big buckets of work that are ahead. And sequence is important. Again, we are here to win and learn. We certainly are continuing to learn as we win sales, but we also continue to learn as we see some things that are not working. So the mantra for us all here, those serious about growth and results, is to win and learn. So it's not an or, it's an and. All right. So 3 buckets of work: customer discovery, demand generation, and sales playbook. And roughly each step of this is 1 month long. So we're going to dive into this step by step. Week 1 is documenting your hypothesis. Very often when I start working with founders, they have vague ideas or some specific, even specific ideas about who their ideal persona is, but it's not documented. So when they get into the next step, they don't know what exactly they're testing. That's why when I work with entrepreneurs, we have a specific way to document the hypothesis, so everything is clear and you can refute or support the hypothesis. And again, I am a big advocate for a scientific approach. You don't lose deals, you don't lose revenue, you learn from your experiments. And some things just are supporting your hypothesis and others don't, right? And so that really prevents you from that burnout. That's why this first week is so important, when you document clearly your ideal customer persona, value proposition hypothesis for that persona, what problem specifically you're solving, what is the pricing and sort of ROI for that persona, and which channels you can reach them in. all of these are hypotheses, but you are putting them on paper so you can really start testing and iterating from there. Week 2 is where we start testing those hypotheses. And what I typically do with founders is starting from surveys, because that's really the fastest way to get further reach, especially if you have multiple potential personas. You can use cold email. Typically would need to compensate folks for that effort of taking a survey, but you can use cold email systems, especially those like Apollo, and there are multiple other ones that allow you to target folks by title and reach out to get those hypotheses tested. What is really important is that you think critically about which questions are really key for you. And that goes back to having those hypotheses documented in week 1. And that allows you to then, again, go back with those survey results. Typically, of course, if you're looking for high significance, you'll need hundreds and hundreds of people. But typically what you start seeing is once you have 30 or so responses, you can start seeing general trends and things start to align per persona, right? So you will look at the results for your specific persona as well as some general trends overall. And again, when we're working with founders, we provide templates and analyze the survey and methodologies, but you can certainly do it yourself with setting up on any survey software and getting those valuable responses and insights very fast. Be careful with open-ended responses that substantially skews your response rates. And of course, think carefully about the length of the survey. Typically, of course, if you have 5-6 questions, you have a higher response rate than, if you move beyond that. So you can really think carefully about this. You can also use the survey, which is what we recommend, and you'll see in a moment in week 3. You can use your survey to start gathering people for your follow-up interviews. So asking them for their email. Of course, if you have multiple ICPs, I recommend using just different links to make it easier to analyze from there by vertical or by specific persona, depending on what your hypotheses are. And then we get into week 3, which is when you got your survey results that typically allows you to narrow down your personas and get into leading hypotheses from a broader list. And then, of course, as you use lots of tools and that were not available in the past, but now even this ChatGPT, when you put in your survey responses, open-ended responses, you can really learn a lot very fast. And so with that, you can narrow down your list of people to interview for deep dives. With deep dive interviews, 15 to 20, what I find practical in this stage. And so ideally, you would do that within 1 or 2 personas. So it's much more concentrated and you can actually deep dive as opposed to being very scattered and broad. And so some techniques that you can read up here that I love are 5 whys, when you really get to the root cause, because typically what people start off with is just surface level issues. And what you really want to learn is what are the underlying beliefs, the goals that they have that will allow you to effectively communicate to them. And whatever marketing or sales tactics you do from there will be so much more powerful when you use your customer language and true motivations. And because they want to know that you really understand them, especially if you get to the point when you can talk about their problems better than they can, that's really how you build trust. Another methodology that I love is jobs to be done. There is lots of information online, and you can learn more about the idea of what the product is hired to do, as well as look at the landscape of other related problems. It's really important in in figuring out your go-to-market strategies, but also your positioning, right? Because your product might be doing one thing, but they want to hire it to actually solve something much deeper that, again, is beyond surface level. So these are two techniques I suggest to use for the interviews. And of course, set the stage saying you are here to learn, you're here to really get into their shoes as much as you can in this time. And that's your only objection. Don't lead with solution. Lead with understanding your customers. That has to be your only goal, is to fall in love with the problem, not falling in love with the solution. So even if what they tell you has nothing to do with your solution or requires substantial changes, it doesn't matter. You'd rather know it now and deal with it with your value proposition, how you position it to solve their problem. So your key objective by the time you get to end of week 3 is to really have clear understanding which of these personas has the biggest pain and for whom that pain is not currently met, right? It's unmet need. And so that creates opportunity, of course, coupled with budget and ability to pay for solving that pain. That is a critical third leg of a stool that cannot be overlooked. And here we arrive to end of month 1 and your week 4, which is around analysis and scoring to focus on your demand generation. So this is where you really take your next level, deeper insights from the interviews, and you create proper persona with proper motivations, language, etc., everything that you can now use in your marketing. So now we're in month 2, and what we do here is setting up cold email sequences. Certainly, there are hundreds of different go-to-market strategies, but the question is, how do you get the learnings fastest? And typically, that has to do with outbound strategy. Inbound strategies take some time to build. And so my go-to is setting up cold email sequences. That's how I've built millions of dollars in revenue from them. Again, there are some specific techniques to warm up your inboxes, especially for those whose inboxes are fairly new, and then using tools like Apollo and others to set up those cold email sequences based on all the insights you have, make them contextual, targeted, and customize at scale. It is a volume game, but if you are reaching out to people who really have the kind of problem that you are solving, it's a service to them to let them know, right? That's the general attitude for those folks who are not sales experts or haven't really sold in their past, more of the tech types. This is a service. You're not bothering people. You are helping solve their problems. So that's a really important mindset shift that you need to keep in mind. Number 2, once you have those cold email sequences going, it's going to take some time to ramp up before you start seeing results. So in week 2 of the second month, you really think about your network strategically. What that means is you actually can reach many more people than you think through your network. Take LinkedIn, take different groups. What you can do is be strategic, use forwardable emails, use different techniques to help your network help you, and continue to talk about your startup with everyone you can find. If you think that keeping it a secret is going to help you, it's the biggest mistake for early stage founders. So talk about it everywhere and anywhere where you can find living beings, and strategically leverage your network. Also, leverage in week 3, deep dive into fast-paced growth strategies. Some quick examples here are posting in different forums, posting in different groups, sort of guerrilla tactics that don't scale, but they really help you get that early traction. It can be guest posting to get your name out there. It could be going to somebody else's podcast, could be leveraging micro influencers that can get maybe free access to your early product and become your advocate. So think about sort of where your audience is according to the insights you've gathered. And that can help you determine what are some fast impact growth strategies that you can implement very quickly to get that first critical traction. And then lastly, in week 4 of months 2, where we are focused on demand generation, is of course KPIs, testing and iterating, right? Once you have multiple streams of outbound strategies going, you have to look at things like open rate, response rate, and continue to iterate. One of the cool things about cold email sequences is that they're very inexpensive or free. And from there, you can really see how different messaging is working. And so that allows you to test really fast and iterate from there across all your various strategies. And that gets us to month 3, building your sales playbook. I am a firm believer, and that's what I work with founders on, is that even if you don't have extensive sales background, you have to, or someone on your founding team has to be the first salesperson, because no one shares your passion as much as you guys do. And no matter what the promised land is from folks that work for big companies or have huge Rolodex, they will not going to be as passionate, as convincing as you are. So you are your first closer, and you have to build the first version of sales playbook before you can scale the team. So that means we are in month 3 now. And so hopefully by now you have clear understanding of your customer goals and your persona and your targeting strategies. You started your demand generation engine. And then number 3, we get into building that critical sales playbook, where the first step is, of course, setting up CRM and sales process. Just mapping out a simple process, right? Where who you held demo with, who gets to decision maker brought in, what is that sales process, right? And sort of, again, that's another set of hypotheses to get through it, and don't make it complex, but that allows you to see where you stand as those leads start to come in. And of course, it's critical that as you start getting on the calls, you have call recording opportunities with, again, lots of AI tools now that you can leverage for it, or even just call recording if you, of course, ask the prospect if it's okay to record. And then you can use that to analyze with, again, lots of really cool off-the-shelf AI tools or specialized tools to see what are the common objections, what are the common pain points. This is a gold mine of insight that you really need to start building up from early days. And then lastly, on week 3, you start having some first meetings, you start having some first recordings, and that allows you to really see your sales KPIs. That allows you to see how people are engaging, who is qualified from what channel, etc. You start looking at some early signs of your lengths of your sales cycle, of the win rate, etc. Of course, depending on your average deal value and your process, those sales KPIs would look quite different. But at the end of the day, it comes down to your win rate, right? It comes down to how many opportunities you win versus those you close, and then going from there and iterating. And week 4 is really where you got your first sales. If you follow the process and if you have a really strong foundation, you have the beginnings of sales playbook with your value proposition, your scripts, and your key sales materials, as well as invoicing, documentation, etc. That's all part of that sales playbook. And then it's followed up by a feedback loop. So what feedback loop means is really taking all of this learning and funneling it back into product, into marketing, and into sales process itself. Because at the end of the day, it all has to come together. Product doesn't exist outside of sales, and sales doesn't exist outside of product. You really want to find the people who have the pain that you solve better than anyone else, and then really deliver on that promise. And so that's really a full loop. And that's why this process and documenting and learning from this process is so important. And that's our mantra, win and learn. And that's how you get to 90 days and your first 10 paying B2B customers. And we are about to get into the special opportunity that I told you about. After working with many founders one-on-one and leading them through this process, what I found is that getting that first traction is so critical, but it's also so nerve-wracking, especially for folks just coming to the US market or folks that are first-time entrepreneurs. And that's why what I wanted to do is to create this program that teaches the playbook and holds your hand step by step through 12-week program for serious B2B SaaS founders who want to get to 10 paying customers in 90 days. And that's the key opportunity. This program is not for you if you are not in a rush to make your first sales, if you love learning from your own mistakes, not from mine and what's been tested by many entrepreneurs, and you're okay with lots of effort that you put into your outreach and sales and not getting customers. But if you are serious about your growth, if you are ready to iterate fast and learn fast, I'm excited to work with you and apply to elevate a program. When I work with founders, I'm certainly all in, and I use all my network and connections to support the founders I work with. And of course, you can always come back to this community beyond the 12 weeks when you have your 10 paying customers and can successfully fundraise with that early traction and continue scaling and building out your business. So to learn more about this program, you can apply right now. Because it is the first group program I'm doing, it's going to be small groups, so spaces are limited, but the price is a complete steal. So go to elevatorlab.com/program or scan this QR code. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side. And that is about it for today. I know it was packed. I rushed through it to make sure that you have your playbook handy. You can always go back and watch again to get the steps handy. But if you're serious about growing and getting those first paying customers, I'm excited to work with you. Eva, who is our growth lead at Elevator, she's going to join me in a moment and tell me what are all the various questions we are having. Hi, Eva. Would you like to introduce yourself before jumping into a few questions?
Yeah, sure. I'm Eva. I'm a growth strategist. I spent the last 7 years working with Vlada as a growth product manager. And we had some plans scaling revenue streams from zero to billions of dollars. And now supporting founders here at Elevator Lab.
Amazing. Let's dive into a few questions, Eva, that you see and you like.
I wanted to ask about the 10 clients. Why are we focusing on these 10 clients milestone in 90 days? What does it change for an early stage founder, and what does it change in the perception of the early stage startup after getting this initial traction?
I think that's a great question. Why 10? Because it's something achievable in 90 days, right? And I think that it's great to have world domination goals. And of course, startup founders should have those goals if they're really, building a rocket ship and that's their ambition. But before you fly, you have to walk, and before that you have to crawl, right? And so that's kind of the idea. The idea is that you have to make your first leap, and that first leap in B2B space, if let's say average deal size is about 10K, so you are getting to your first 100K effectively, right? 100K ARR, and that's your sort of first milestone that allows you to show that you have traction, especially when you acquire these people using some actual growth strategies, and not only if you're lucky enough to have some relatives or other people who are well positioned to be your clients and whatnot. This shows real business, right? Sort of you have 10 companies who are willing to pay. And that, and again, I think in startups, what matters is the speed of growth, right? It doesn't matter that the numbers are small. Of course, they're small in the early days, but if you have one customer, three customers, five customers, right? That starts looking like a hockey stick. And that's what, early stage is all about, is about the speed and the trajectory, not about the absolute numbers.
Yes, definitely. And I think that makes a huge difference approaching investors in a new territory as well, having an idea and an ambition versus showing the early traction.
Absolutely.
Another question is about, obviously this process requires persistence and dedication. What are the there is sometimes a time to double down, sometimes there is a time to pivot. What kind of signals can we see other than the deal closing that would say, okay, we are on the right track, and how to kind of make that decision?
Most common objection that people in the early stage and the founders we work with, right, they express is that, oh, they're not ready to buy, right? Meaning they seem like they have a problem, but they're not willing to vote with their wallet right now, with their budget, right? And so that is typically not a great signal, meaning it doesn't necessarily mean you have to pivot, but this is something to really watch very closely, because either the problem is not big enough for this kind of persona, or you are positioning it as a vitamin, not as a painkiller. So they don't see how that's going to be life-changing for them to actually do this and buy your solution. So I think that's another one beyond the win rate, where you're saying, okay, why am I not closing? If they keep telling you that they are they're not closing because it's not now thing. Well, if it's not now, it means that the problem is not strong enough. And so that goes back to your hypothesis. But yes, early stage sales is really a lot of iteration and a lot of testing. And I think you just, as a founder, you have to come in with the right attitude, right? It's great when people are beating on your door and saying, I can't wait to get my hands on your solution. That's amazing. It doesn't happen to most founders. Most founders really need to find that first niche that they can dominate, because their pain is the strongest and it's unmet, and they have budget to pay for your solution.
I think it also helps to have a real dedication to actually wanting to help and solve the problem rather than just making the sale.
Absolutely. And a flip side is true. As something I mentioned in the presentation, but a lot of technical founders, they don't feel great about selling, right? They say, oh, I'm bothering people. I'm sending them these emails. I'm asking for some favors. But if you deeply believe that you are helping them solve their problem, you should completely change your mindset, right? And I think that shift is really critical, because you're not there asking for favors. They're lucky that you approach them because you have a real solution to their problems. If you don't believe that, that's a bigger issue, but that's the belief you need to have and really rewire your brain, because your energy and just the success of all these sales calls would be so much higher when you know that they need you, if they are in fact a fit for your solution.
Yes, you have to believe in your product more than anyone else at the beginning.
Amazing. Well, I know we are a bit over time. Is there any last questions, or should we just close with, again, elevatorlab.com /program? That's where you can apply right now. Take a look at the program. You can always DM me on LinkedIn, and we'll get you more information and see if you're a fit for the program. Have a wonderful day.